Nearing the midpoint of the season, the Orlando Magic are at a crossroads. January is always the most important month. Today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is January 12th. It will be January 13th, 2026. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, everything for the Orlando Magic is on the line in the second half of their season, why they are more than capable of stepping up to the plate, and what history can teach us about what's coming up for the Magic. We'll get to that. Plus, why we're going to reframe a lot of the Magic's issues because all the NBA Cup teams are struggling. We'll talk about that. And a full circle moment as the Magic land in Berlin. We'll get to all that coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can make Locked On Magic even bigger part of your day by being one of our Orlando Magic dailies, our everydayers. That means you're listening every day of the week when we post episodes. That means we're part of your regular podcast rotation. That means we are your first listen of the day. We truly want to thank you for making this Locked On Magic community so great. And thank you for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the number one sports podcast network. It's your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Let's start today's episode with a story. The Orlando Magic were having the best season they'd had since Dwight Howard left in the 2015-2016 season. They were 19-13 on December 30th. They were finally above 500. They were, I think, fourth in the East at the time. They had everything working in their favor. And then it all suddenly fell apart. Now, it was falling apart before the Magic traveled to London to face the Toronto Raptors in a one-off game in London, a 106-103 overtime loss. The Magic, to that point, had lost 5 of their last 6 games, and they would go on to lose all but 2 games in January. By the time January ended with a 119-114 win over the Boston Celtics, the Magic had gone from 19-13 to 21-25. If I'm a little scarred by the Magic going over to Europe, not only did everybody get sick on that trip, I literally told people who were on that trip, like, hey, make sure no one gets sick this time around, guys. If I'm a little scarred by the fact that the Magic are going back to Europe, it's because the last time it happened, it was a disaster. And now there are a lot of other things working against the Magic at that time. Aaron Gordon was coming back from an injury. Scott Skiles had reportedly quit on the team and was still coaching because he was kind of forced to. It was a disaster of a season. But I make that point and I bring this up to say that while the Magic are in this great spot, and this year's team is so much better than that 2016 team. Nikola Vucevic, Evan Fournier, like all those guys were good players. None of them are Paolo Banchero. None of them are Desmond Bane. None of them are Franz Wagner. The expectations that this Magic team faces are so much greater. But I bring that up to say this is a turning point in the season. This is a critical moment facing the Magic. Last year, for instance, the Magic entered January after that stunning win over the Nets at 20-14. Through 40 games, which the Magic are at now, they were 22-18. What did the Magic do over the next several weeks? Well, they went from 22-18 to 24-27. 9 out of 11 losses. Under 500. Struggling to stay afloat, and there would be more losses to come. Last year, the Magic were in the hunt, and injuries were obviously a big factor in that. They got Paolo Banchero back January 12th, so we're at the year anniversary of Paolo Banchero's return from the oblique injury. I came back January 10th, excuse me. So we're a year from that. Franz Wagner would come back a few weeks later. So that there were reasons why the Magic were struggling, but you're looking at a 5-game losing streak. You're looking at another 4-game losing streak. They lost 9 of 10 games over a stretch from game 42 to game 51. And that was the season. All the hopes of being the 6th seed, of getting home court advantage, of achieving all those goals went out the window in January. Again, game 40, the Magic were 22-18. The same record the Magic have right now, 22-18. The story was completely different in 2024. And 2024, at game 40, the Magic were also 22-18. And the Magic hit a little bit of a rough patch, losing 4 of their next 5 games to kind of begin the second half of the season. But obviously, we know what happened. Orlando won 25 games the rest of the way to get to 47 wins, 5-seed playoffs. I bring up these 3 examples and these 3 teams to say, and especially the last 2 years, to say, this is a tipping point moment for the Magic. This is a moment that this team's going to determine what kind of season they have. What kind of team will they ultimately be? That is what is on the line right now. Those are the stakes as this team flies across the pond, flies to Europe. They're in Europe. They're already there. It arrives in Berlin for these pair of games against the Memphis Grizzlies. And that is what awaits them when they get home. The Magic are not playing well right now. Let's make that abundantly clear. But except for the 4-game losing streak at the beginning of the season, the Magic do not have a losing streak of longer than 2 games. And that's just the Knicks and Nuggets game. The last time the Magic won or lost consecutive games. It is fair and right to be frustrated the Magic aren't picking up ground, that they have alternated wins and losses for the last 12 games. That is frustrating because the Magic are better than this. And it is true, as Tyus Jones said this weekend, that at some point the Magic got to break this streak. At some point, the Magic have to break through. And they're going to fall one way or the other. There's going to be games somewhere that the Magic trip up. And there's going to be some more struggle the rest of the way. There's a lot of games left, a long way to go. But historically, this is about the time of year where the Magic season gets determined. This is where the season was determined the last 2 seasons with this group specifically. And so I will agree with this reframing. I think it is important to frame things. The Magic aren't winning consecutive games, but they're also not losing consecutive games. They're not losing ground at this time. They've had some bad losses. That loss to the Charlotte Hornets was particularly bad. The loss to the Washington Wizards was particularly bad. And perhaps Orlando has squandered some opportunity to build and grow in the standings. Then again, maybe the Chicago Bulls loss also bad. Then again, you're not losing ground against your competitors. And look, I'm not going to go standings every night, but like Cleveland lost to Utah tonight. When they look like they're about to put all their pieces together, they laid an egg. Everybody's going through something right now, and there's still a lot of teams trying to figure out their identity. At least the Magic have one big excuse for why they're kind of scuttling about. It's the injuries. They don't have their second best player. Paolo Banchero was in and out of the lineup. Jalen Suggs is in and out of the lineup. Perhaps they do and understand that, yeah, these injuries aren't long-term. When we get our guys back, we're going to make a push because we are good enough. And yeah, obviously it makes sense. The second half of the season is going to determine where the Magic finish and who comes out on top in this tight Eastern Conference. But as I've said, it's not going to take much to propel this team forward. It's not going to take much to get this team elevated to a higher place, to a better place, to climb into kind of the driver's seat for the 4 seed, get back into the race for the 3 seed, perhaps even the 2 seed at this point. But it's not going to happen, pun intended, magically. This team's got to do it. And as we've seen over the last 2 years, it's this part of the season, it's this part of the schedule that determines whether the Magic have a really special season or a frustrating one. One where they've left something on the table. That is where a dose of perspective matters. Because it has become pattern that the NBA Cup teams struggle. So let's talk about how the other NBA Cup teams are doing and what that says about the Magic. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. During basketball season, there is nothing like being in the building. The energy, the crowd, that first big run that gets everyone on their feet. Fans want to be there for those moments, not stuck refreshing screens or guessing what tickets are really going to cost. That is where Game Time comes in. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage back, making it incredibly easy to score amazing tickets, fast, simple, and without the guesswork. Browsing the Game Time app is straightforward and intuitive. Finding tickets takes just a few taps. Seeing the view from your seat before buying makes choosing tickets easy and confident. Prices include fees up front, so the total is clear from the start. And with zone deals, you can unlock great seats at even better value. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today and get in on the action. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by our friends over at ZocDoc. Finding a doctor you actually like can feel like discovering a diamond in the rough. You want someone in-network, nearby with availability, but you also want a doctor who really listens, makes you feel comfortable, and explains things clearly and helps you walk out feeling confident about your next step. Your diamond in the rough doctor exists, and finding them is easy with ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can choose someone you truly connect with. You can find someone by specialty or symptoms and quickly find the right fit. You can choose in-person or video visits that make scheduling way easier, and appointments usually happen within 24 to 72 hours. They can even have same-day openings. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments. Go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc, ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. Thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring this message. We want to thank you for making Locked On Magic your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. It's access to an ad-free audio feed of Locked On Magic, so you don't have to hear those pesky ads, and you get invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server. That includes a group chat just for listeners of this show. I'm hanging out in the Discord all the time. We're still growing our community, so bear with us a little bit. I put my 3 thoughts after every quarter in the Discord group for my subscribers, both to my Patreon and to the Everydayer Club. Pick one, whichever one you want, whichever perks you like the best. I'm in there all the time. It's the best way to get access to me. Those are my exclusive thoughts. Those do not go on my public feed. So I'm still finding the right balance, but we'll get there. Go to LockedOnMagic.supercast.com. That's LockedOnMagic.supercast.com, or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. I'm not going to sugarcoat things, though. I don't want to sugarcoat things. The Magic are not playing well. I am confident in this team. I'm an optimist by nature. I am confident that this team's going to figure these things out. I'm confident that Franz Wagner returning whenever that may be, maybe Thursday, maybe Sunday, maybe when they get back from Europe. It's close. We're close. That my understanding is that we are close. Getting Franz Wagner back is going to fix a lot of issues. Getting Jalen Suggs back is going to fix a lot of issues. The numbers all suggest that, and we could talk about big picture issues later on why that's the case and why the Magic haven't been able to click without them. That might be tomorrow's episode. I haven't decided if I want to do another episode like that, but getting guys back healthy, we know this team's really good. Like we know this team is really, really good. And so while I'm not so keen to reframe everything in a positive light all the time, and broadcast, kudos to the Magic broadcast. They're paid by the team. They're trying to spend things the right way, spend things that way. I will concede that I think it is important to reframe things as, well, at least the Magic aren't losing a bunch of games in a row. Because like I mentioned, the Magic went through this rut last year and lost 9 of 11. The reason why we could still talk seriously about home court advantage, the reason why we can still talk seriously about the 3 seed is because despite all the injuries, despite how poorly the Magic have played in the last month, despite it all, Orlando's treading water. They're still scratching out wins. I've said this a bunch over the last few weeks. It feels like right now the Magic are grinding out pars. If you play golf at all, if you're decent enough at golf at all to grind out pars, I grind out double bogeys because I'm not good at golf. If you're a competitive golfer, there's just some days where you just don't have it, and all you're trying to do is just get pars until you find a hole that you like, or you find a Magic swing that gets you over the hump and gets you back on track. That's what the Magic are doing right now. They're grinding out pars. And that's not exciting. It's frustrating. It's not fun because we know how good this Magic team can and should be. But it's going to get the job done. If the Magic end up the 3 seed, and maybe the Magic do get to 50 wins. Maybe they're stuck at 49. But whatever seed the Magic end up as, I can guarantee we're going to look back at this part of the season and say either those are opportunities the Magic missed, or thank God the Magic alternated wins and losses while they were struggling this much, because now they're playing great and now we're fighting for the 2 seed again. Now we are accomplishing everything that we want to accomplish. And again, I don't think it's far-fetched to think the Magic can catch Boston or New York. It'll be tough. It's not easy, but I don't think it's far-fetched. I think the 4 seed is certainly still in play. And again, lowering the bar a little bit. The bar's been lowered because they haven't been winning these games. But this also might not be entirely their fault, because the other teams that went to Vegas have also hit little rough patches. Since December 17th, which was the Wednesday after the NBA Cup, the Oklahoma City Thunder, you might remember, were 24-1, have gone 9-5. Defense still elite, but the offense has slowed down to 114.8 points per 100 possessions. Oklahoma City's still an elite team. San Antonio got the biggest bump from being in Vegas. They're also 9-5. A 114.2 offensive rating, a 106.6 defensive rating. 114.2 offensive rating, by the way, 16th in the league. Oklahoma City, 13th in the league in offensive rating. Both teams still really stellar on defense. So what about the New York Knicks? Well, the New York Knicks are 7-7 since going to Vegas. The same record as the Orlando Magic. Like the Magic, the Knicks defense has collapsed. A 120.2 defensive rating in the last 14 games. A 117.2 offensive rating, which is below what they were doing heading into Vegas. Orlando, of course, their offense has tanked a little bit down to 112.1, one of the worst offenses in the league. One of the worst offenses in the league, 22nd league in offensive rating since December 17th. Their defense has taken a major step down too at 116.1, which is 116.1, which is 21st. The Magic have played like a bottom 10 team in both offense and defensive rating since going out to Vegas. The Knicks have had those struggles. The Thunder aren't as good as they were before going to Vegas. The Spurs, I think, are the only team that's really gotten a boost. And again, 9-5 isn't like a ton to sneeze at. They're second most wins in the league since December 17th. Magic are 11th most wins with 7-7. So again, maybe there is something to this, because that's what was experienced last year too with the teams that went to Vegas. It took them a little bit of time to come down. It's just a lot of extra travel. And you put a lot of emotional stakes into these games. I still think the NBA Cup is worth it. Winning something is important, and I wish the Magic had played better in Vegas, but yeah, like there is a little bit of a come down that comes with it. And again, the Magic are dealing with injuries. Like Jalen Suggs has been injured that entire time since then. Hasn't played a game since then. Paolo Banchero's gotten better, but still working on things. Franz Wagner's been out. And so again, injuries are the story for the Orlando Magic, whether you like that or not. Whether, again, it's not an excuse. The Magic should be playing better. But also, as poorly as the Magic have played, they're not losing ground. Now, obviously, the trick to all this is the Magic need to find themselves again. The trick to all this is the Magic can't let this fester. They can't let this last too much longer. The Magic need to find their rhythm. They need to find a way to scratch out multiple wins. They need to do that. And that's the only way they're going to climb the standings. As we sit here today, the Magic, I don't think all the games are over as I'm recording this. I'm recording this about 11 o'clock Eastern time on Monday. The Magic are 6th. They're above the blue line, not the red line. The red line's 10th, but they're above the blue line after Cleveland lost to Utah. They're a game back of Philadelphia, game and a half back of Toronto. For 4th, they're only 2.5 games back of Boston for 3rd, and 3.5 games back in New York for 2nd. Like I said, they're not far off. And if you look at all the teams in the East, no one in the East is better than 6-4 in their last 10. And Detroit's one of them. Detroit's starting to get some distance. There's 7 games between Orlando and Detroit. That would be really tough to catch. Boston 6-4, Toronto 6-4, Philadelphia 6-4. Boston's lost their last 2. I don't know if they beat Indiana tonight. Let me double check. Indiana won tonight. There you go. Philadelphia beat Toronto tonight. There you go. It's going to be a race. And again, the Magic have let these games slip. There's no getting them back, but they're also playing poorly, but still scratching out wins. And I think it sucks to be in this scratch out par mindset. Like, you want birdies. If you play golf, you want birdies. And the Magic got to get their birdies. They gotta make up ground. They got to get under par. But they aren't alone in this. And soon the Magic will have their moment. Like, soon the pieces of the puzzle will come together. And if they don't have their moment when the pieces of the puzzle come together, then we got problems. Then we got bigger problems than we think we have. But I think the Magic have treaded water well since Franz's injury, certainly since Jalen Suggs' injury. And now it's just about, okay, let's get our pieces together and get moving. That's the lesson. The Orlando Magic have arrived in Berlin, the full circle moment for several Magic players. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment.
I carry a lot of responsibility in my household. If something happened to me, there would be serious consequences. We have a mortgage, we got tuition, we got everyday bills. Those aren't going anywhere if something happens to me. And I know that's an overwhelming feeling, but I'm taking steps to protect my family by getting life insurance through Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast, easy, and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. And as of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. Ethos has 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 3,000 reviews. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LocdownNBA. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get your free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LocdownNBA. That's ethos.com/LocdownNBA. Ethos.com/LocdownNBA. Application times and rates may vary.
One final segment here as we close out the show this beautiful Tuesday day. The Orlando Magic flew overnight from Orlando to Berlin. So they are in Berlin. They're starting to do the festivities. I think today was sort of both Orlando and Memphis landed today. Today was sort of like, hey, let's get some rest. Let's get the circadian rhythms right. And the Magic will practice out there in Berlin on Tuesday. They'll practice again Wednesday, and then of course will be game day on Thursday. And undoubtedly, this is a really special moment. We talked about this when the game got announced, but I think it is worth resetting. This is a really special moment for this Orlando Magic team. It's not just that the Magic have invested a lot of money to try and grow their fan base out in Germany, but it's because of who's on this team. Franz Wagner and Moe Wagner talked about it after Sunday's game. They grew up watching the pro teams at Uber Arena, where they will be playing these games. They played at Alba Berlin, in the Alba Berlin development program. Like, this is their hometown. And it is really special for them to make this trip and represent their country. If you've followed the Wagner brothers, if you watched the Wagner brothers documentary, it was a really it was very, very clear that I think they put it in there in the first episode as like one of the mission statements. It was very, very clear to them that they wanted to make this documentary or make that documentary series to show kids in Germany what NBA life was like, to show them as human beings and the work they had to put in to get to the NBA and to do it behind the scenes to show what it takes to get there, because representation matters. Like, representation matters. Seeing yourself in someone else doing something you dream of doing tells you can do it. It's hard to be the first person doing something. And look, Franz and Moe aren't the first person doing something. Detlef Schrempf, Dirk Nowitzki, all German legends. But this is the baton that they're carrying. This is the baton they're taking now. And you can tell how important it is for them to be good examples and to try and show people the way and try and have someone ahead of them to pass that baton to. I know it is incredibly important for Moe and Franz to play in this game. And Franz said it after Sunday's game. He's hopeful that he'll be able to play. He's been working really hard to get back. He knows that it's not completely up to him. It's his body. It's the medical staff. But he certainly seems very hopeful that he's going to play in this game. But even being there, being able to put NBA basketball, a regular season game, not a preseason game, a regular season game, a game with stakes in front of their hometown, it means something. Tristan da Silva isn't from Berlin, but even he said, like, look, this means a lot. Like, it is, like, he's on the German national team. He grew up in Germany. His brother's been on the German national team for years. This is a really meaningful moment for everybody involved. And it's not even just Tristan. It's Noah Penda and his family are coming up for this game. I know several members of the team brought their families with them as well for this. Paolo Banchero has no connection to Germany, but like, I think even he senses the excitement of this moment, of the importance of this game. And so it is a true full circle moment. It is a true moment for these players to reconnect with their home and to learn a little bit about your teammates. I'm sure Franz and Moe took them to the nicest restaurant in Berlin. I am sure that they'll be able to see a little bit of the sights, and that Moe and Franz will give them the locals tour. But like, this is also what it's all about. Like, yeah, winning championships really important. Like that, like, we want that. But it's about the connection to the next generation. It's about the connection to each other. It's about knowing where you come from. And the Magic, yes, have tried to cash in a little bit on this. And they know they have two of the best German players in the world. They have tried to establish a connection with Germany, and they wanted this game for that reason. I'm sure the NBA wanted Franz in this game too, for that reason. There's money to be made. Let's not pretend otherwise. But this is a really exciting moment for those two players, and I'm really glad they get the chance to be at home. And There's obviously work to do. Everyone's acknowledged this is a fun trip. They're excited for Mo and Franz and Tristan as well. But there's business to take care of. The Magic want to win both of these games in London as well. Where the Magic also have a pretty big fan base. And so it's not just a homecoming. It's a business trip. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Hemley, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all of the places you download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. You can check us out on YouTube as well. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. Your support helps my coverage of the Orlando Magic, so you get an extra article from me every day in newsletter format. I give you an extra article every Monday through Friday, as well as some thoughts about around the league as well from me. You can check that out again at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. We want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic your first listen of the day. If you never miss an episode, be sure to check out the Everydayer Club as well. You get Locked On Magic ad-free plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonmagic.supercast.com to join the club today. For those of you on video, we're going to send you to the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen NBA game night on Locked On NBA. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. For Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.